Have you ever wondered what it's like when a seasoned detective's instincts kick in during retirement? Well, buckle up, because my Uncle Frank's story will blow your mind. This 68-year-old retired detective from Chicago thought his crime-solving days were behind him until one ordinary Tuesday morning changed everything. What happened next proves that once a detective, always a detective. My name is Sarah, and I'm about to share the most incredible story my Uncle Frank ever told me. He spent 37 years with the Chicago Police Department working everything from petty theft to homicide cases. But this story isn't from his active duty days. This happened just 6 months ago, right here in his quiet suburban neighborhood where he thought the most exciting thing would be arguing with neighbors about lawn care. Uncle Frank always said retirement would be boring. He'd joke about how he'd gone from chasing criminals to chasing the ice cream truck for his grandkids. But on March 15, 2023, at exactly 7:43 a.m., his detective instincts would prove that some skills never fade, no matter how much time passes. It started like any other morning. Uncle Frank was in his kitchen, brewing his signature dark roast coffee and reading the Chicago Tribune. He had this routine down to a science. Wake up at 7 a.m., coffee by 7:15, newspaper by 7:30, and then a walk around the neighborhood by 8 a.m. 37 years of structured police work had ingrained habits that retirement couldn't break. But as he lifted his coffee mug to take that first sip, something caught his eye through the kitchen window. Across the street at the Henderson house, there was a white van parked in the driveway. Now, you might think, so what? People have vans. But Uncle Frank's trained eye noticed something immediately wrong. First, the van had no company logos or markings, which was odd because the Hendersons had mentioned they were getting their carpets cleaned that week. Second, the license plate was partially obscured by what looked like deliberate mud splatter. Third, and most telling, the driver was sitting in the van, engine running, just watching the house. Uncle Frank had seen this behavior countless times in his career, and it never meant anything good. Mrs. Henderson was a 74-year-old widow who lived alone since her husband passed 2 years ago. She was the neighborhood's unofficial grandmother, always baking cookies for the kids and keeping an eye on everyone's homes when they traveled. The thought of someone potentially targeting her made Uncle Frank's blood boil. He set down his coffee and grabbed his binoculars from the living room. These weren't just any binoculars. They were military-grade ones he'd used during stakeouts. As he focused on the van, he could see the driver more clearly. Male, approximately 35 to 40 years old, wearing a baseball cap pulled low over his face. The man kept checking his phone and looking at the Henderson house with an intensity that screamed trouble. Uncle Frank's mind raced through possibilities. Was this a robbery setup? Were they waiting for Mrs. Henderson to leave? Or worse, were they planning to force entry while she was home? His detective instincts were firing on all cylinders, and he knew he had to act fast. But here's where it gets interesting. Instead of immediately calling 911, Uncle Frank did something that showcased his decades of experience. He decided to gather more intelligence first. He grabbed his phone and started recording the van, making sure to capture the license plate, the driver's appearance, and the timestamp. Evidence collection was second nature to him. Then he did something brilliant. He called Mrs. Henderson, pretending it was just a friendly check-in. "Morning, Dorothy," he said, using his most casual voice. "How are you feeling today?" Mrs. Henderson sounded fine, mentioned she was about to leave for her doctor's appointment at 9 a.m. Uncle Frank's heart skipped a beat. The timing was too convenient. He asked her casually if she was expecting any service calls today. "Oh yes," she said. "The carpet cleaning people should be here around 10 a.m. Why do you ask?" Uncle Frank kept his voice steady as he told her there was a van outside that arrived quite early. Mrs. Henderson went to her window and confirmed she could see it too. "That's strange," she said. "They're not supposed to be here for another hour." This is where Uncle Frank's experience really shined. Instead of creating panic, he calmly suggested that Mrs. Henderson might want to call the carpet cleaning company to confirm the appointment time. "Better safe than sorry," he said, while simultaneously texting his neighbor Jim, who was a current police officer, about the suspicious vehicle. Meanwhile, the van driver's behavior was becoming increasingly suspicious. He kept looking around nervously, checking his phone, and at one point, Uncle Frank saw him take photos of Mrs. Henderson's house. This was definitely not a legitimate carpet cleaning crew. Mrs. Henderson called back within minutes, her voice shaky. "Frank, I called the carpet company. They said my appointment isn't until next week. They have no one scheduled to come today." Uncle Frank's suspicions were confirmed. This was definitely a setup, and Mrs. Henderson was the target. Now here's where Uncle Frank's story takes an unexpected turn. Instead of just calling the police and waiting, he decided to take proactive action. Remember, this is a man who spent nearly 4 decades reading criminal behavior. He knew that if he spooked the guy too early, he might just drive away and try again later. Or worse, find another elderly victim in the neighborhood. Uncle Frank had a plan. He told Mrs. Henderson to stay inside, lock all doors, and be ready to call 911 if anything seemed wrong. Then he did something that would make any current police officer cringe, but showcased his tactical thinking. He decided to approach the van. Walking casually across the street, Uncle Frank approached the driver's side of the van. The driver rolled down his window, probably thinking Uncle Frank was just a friendly neighbor. "Morning," Uncle Frank said with a smile. "You folks here for the carpet cleaning?" The driver immediately became nervous. Yeah, we're waiting for the right time." Uncle Frank nodded, then delivered a line that still gives me chills. "That's funny, because I just called the carpet company, and they said Mrs. Henderson's appointment isn't until next week. They also said they've never heard of your van's license plate number." The driver's face went pale. Uncle Frank continued, "I'm retired Chicago PD, and I've been watching you for the past 20 minutes. Your behavior matches every robbery setup I've seen in 37 years. Now you can drive away right now, or we can wait for my friend from the current police force to arrive and sort this out." You know what happened next? The driver panicked, threw the van in reverse, and sped away so fast he left tire marks on the street. Uncle Frank had his phone ready and got clear footage of the van speeding away, including a perfect shot of the license plate. But the story doesn't end there. Uncle Frank immediately called his contact at the police department and reported the incident. Within hours, they had traced the van to a known criminal who had been targeting elderly residents in suburban neighborhoods across the Chicago area. The photos Uncle Frank took were crucial evidence that helped connect this individual to several other attempted break-ins. The really amazing part? This wasn't just a random opportunistic crime. The investigation revealed that this criminal had been systematically targeting elderly widows using fake service appointments as cover stories. He would call pretending to be from various service companies, gather information about when the residents would be alone, and then show up to case the houses before attempting break-ins. Mrs. Henderson later learned that she had received a suspicious call the week before from someone claiming to be from a carpet cleaning company, asking about her schedule and living situation. She had innocently provided information that nearly made her a victim. Uncle Frank's intervention didn't just save her from a potential robbery, it helped bust an entire operation. The police investigation, aided by Uncle Frank's evidence, led to the arrest of the suspect 2 days later. They found detailed notes in his possession about multiple elderly residents in the area, including Mrs. Henderson. The evidence showed he had been planning to target at least 6 other homes in the neighborhood over the following weeks. What makes this story even more remarkable is how Uncle Frank's experience guided every decision he made. His ability to read suspicious behavior, gather evidence, and tactically approach a dangerous situation probably saved not just Mrs. Henderson, but multiple potential victims. The local police department was so impressed with Uncle Frank's handling of the situation that they asked him to speak at a community safety meeting. He shared his story and taught residents how to identify suspicious behavior and protect themselves. His presentation was so popular that he's now a regular speaker at neighborhood watch meetings across the city. But here's what Uncle Frank told me was the most rewarding part of the whole experience: the connection he made with Mrs. Henderson and the community. After the incident, she insisted on baking him cookies every week, and they developed a genuine friendship. The neighborhood now has an informal network where residents look out for each other, inspired by Uncle Frank's example. Uncle Frank also started a small consulting business, helping other communities set up neighborhood watch programs. He uses his story as a teaching tool, showing people how to trust their instincts and take appropriate action when something doesn't feel right. His experience proves that community vigilance, combined with professional expertise, can be incredibly effective in preventing crime. The incident also reconnected Uncle Frank with his former colleagues at the police department. They now regularly consult with him on cases involving elderly victims, and he's become an unofficial liaison between the police and senior communities. His retirement has become more fulfilling than he ever imagined. What's particularly interesting is how this incident highlights the ongoing value of experienced law enforcement officers. Even in retirement, Uncle Frank's decades of training and instinct didn't disappear when he turned in his badge. Instead, they became community assets that helped protect vulnerable residents. The story also demonstrates the importance of maintaining connections and communication in neighborhoods. If Uncle Frank hadn't known Mrs. Henderson well enough to call her casually, if he hadn't maintained relationships with current police officers, if he hadn't been observant enough to notice unusual behavior, the outcome could have been very different. There's also a technological aspect to this story that's worth noting. Uncle Frank's use of his phone to record evidence was crucial to the investigation. He understood that in today's world, having video evidence can make or break a case. His recording of the van and the driver provided investigators with concrete proof that supported the charges. The psychological aspects of Uncle Frank's approach are fascinating too. His decision to confront the suspect directly was risky, but calculated. He understood that showing confidence and authority would likely intimidate someone engaged in criminal activity. His mention of being retired police and having already contacted current officers was a strategic move that gave the criminal an easy way out while ensuring he wouldn't return. This incident also sparked important conversations in the community about elderly safety and crime prevention. Many residents realized they needed to be more vigilant about sharing personal information with unknown callers claiming to be from service companies. The neighborhood now has protocols for verifying service appointments and checking on elderly residents. Uncle Frank's story spread beyond just his immediate neighborhood. Local news stations picked up the story, and it became a teaching example for other communities. His approach demonstrated that effective crime prevention doesn't always require dramatic confrontations or dangerous situations. Sometimes it's about observation, communication, and smart decision-making. The ripple effects of this single incident continue to this day. The neighborhood has seen a significant decrease in suspicious activity, partly because word spread that there was a retired detective keeping an eye on things. The psychological deterrent effect of Uncle Frank's presence has been as valuable as his direct intervention. What I find most inspiring about Uncle Frank's story is how it shows that expertise and experience don't have expiration dates. His ability to read situations, gather evidence, and take appropriate action saved someone from becoming a victim and helped catch a criminal who was targeting vulnerable community members. The story also highlights the importance of trusting your instincts. Uncle Frank could have dismissed the van as nothing unusual, but his experience told him otherwise. His willingness to act on those instincts combined with his tactical knowledge made all the difference. Today, Uncle Frank continues to live in the same neighborhood, still taking his morning walks and keeping an eye on things. He's become something of a local legend, and residents regularly ask for his advice on security matters. His story proves that retirement doesn't mean the end of usefulness. It can mean the beginning of a new kind of service to the community. The incident has also strengthened the relationship between the neighborhood and local law enforcement. Police officers now regularly patrol the area and have developed better communication channels with residents. Uncle Frank's bridge between the community and police has created a more secure environment for everyone. Looking back, Uncle Frank says this incident reminded him why he became a police officer in the first place, to protect people and serve the community. Even in retirement, he found a way to continue that mission. His story is a testament to the lasting value of experience, the importance of staying alert, and the power of one person's actions to make a real difference. So the next time you see something that doesn't feel right, remember Uncle Frank's story. Trust your instincts, gather information, and don't be afraid to act. You never know when your observation and action might prevent a crime and protect someone vulnerable. Uncle Frank's ordinary Tuesday morning turned into an extraordinary example of how retired expertise can continue to serve and protect communities in powerful ways.